9. Princess gone wrong. According to authorities, in 2013, 42-year-old Michelle Aliban was released in California after posting an enormous bailout sum of $5 million the very next day after her arrest. She is one of Saudi Prince Abdulrahman bin Nasser bin Abdulaziz Al Saud's 6 wives, making her a Saudi princess. Her charge: she was accused of human trafficking. Following her release, officials imposed tight travel restrictions and GPS surveillance to keep her movements in check. The arrest followed allegations made by a 30-year-old Kenyan housemaid who claimed to be held by the princess against her will. District Attorney Tony Rackauckus claimed the complainant was subjected to forced labor and compared Aliban to a slave master. Aliban is prohibited from contacting the alleged victim, cannot leave Orange County without court approval, and must surrender her passport. Authorities say the captive maid could only flee, flag down a bus, and call the cops when the family brought her along for a vacation in the United States. The maid did not realize that her escape had helped 4 others gain their freedom as well. On searching the family's condo, police found 4 other Filipino workers who voluntarily walked out to their freedom upon being found. On the other hand, despite being charged with a serious accusation of human trafficking, the princess walked away unscathed, thanks to her wealth. 8. High-profile murder. In 2013, Aurea Vasquez Rijos was accused of hiring someone to assassinate her wealthy Canadian husband on the U.S. Caribbean island of Puerto Rico. She had been on the run for 5 long years, but Spanish authorities finally caught her at a Madrid airport. It all started in September 2005, while Aurea was walking through a tourist area with her husband, 32-year-old real estate developer Adam Anhang. An attacker came out of nowhere and stabbed Adam to death. 3 years later, Aurea was accused of paying a man $3 million to kill her husband. She denied the claims and refused to negotiate with investigators. She fled to Italy, where she lived in Florence, and then moved to Venice. Aurea refused to cooperate with detectives after Anhang's death and instead filed a civil complaint against her late husband's family, seeking $1 million in losses and millions more from his estate. Meanwhile, a Puerto Rican man was wrongfully convicted for the high-profile murder and spent 8 months behind bars in a supermax prison. He was finally released when Alex Pabon Colon, the hitman hired by Aurea, showed up and told authorities everything. Aurea found Colon at a restaurant and hired him to kill her husband for $3 million. She asked him to make it look like a mugging gone wrong. The fact that Adam was seeking to divorce Aurea after only 6 months into their marriage must have stirred her to take the extreme step. It took a massive collaboration between the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Puerto Rico, Spanish cops, Interpol, and the U.S. Department of Justice to get Aurea arrested for the involvement of the murder. 14 years later, in 2019, Aurea finally pled guilty and will spend the rest of her life in a Fort Worth, Texas prison. 7. Love triangle. In 2012, Nanette Ann Packard was found guilty of convincing her lover, former NFL linebacker Eric Napolsky, to murder her millionaire boyfriend for his life insurance money. 17 long years after the crime, jurors found 46-year-old Packard from Southern California guilty of first-degree murder in the shooting of her sugar daddy, William McLaughlin, who was 21 years her senior. McLaughlin was shot 6 times in the torso with a 9mm handgun after returning home from a quick trip to Vegas on his private plane. Hearing the gunfire, his mentally disabled son ran downstairs to discover his father lying in a pool of blood. In a 911 call for assistance, the son's agonized pleas for help were recorded. Packard and Napolsky were suspected of murdering McLaughlin from the very beginning, especially after detectives discovered they were having an affair behind McLaughlin's back, and that Packard was writing checks to herself from the millionaire's accounts. In 1995, the two were questioned, but there wasn't enough evidence to arrest them for the death. Packard did eventually plead guilty to fraud and grand theft. It was later found that she was the sole beneficiary of McLaughlin's $1 million life insurance policy and an additional $150,000 from his will, with complete access to his beach house. The murder investigation went cold, but in 2009, Larry Montgomery, the district attorney's investigator, reopened the investigation. He studied old case files, re-interviewed witnesses, and re-examined all the evidence, and thanks to DNA developments, was able to pinpoint the suspects. Packard and Napolsky now faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. 6. You can't arrest me. I'm rich. In May 2015, 42-year-old Nicole Hutchinson was charged with intoxication and manslaughter after crashing her car into a road worker on the North Central Expressway, instantly killing him. When cops moved in to arrest her, she told them that they would regret charging her with anything because she was so wealthy. Nicole told police she was driving to her boyfriend's residence at 1 a.m. when she saw three men working on the shoulder of the expressway. She tried to swerve around Bernard Armstrong, the victim, who jumped in front of her car, but she lost control and crashed into the concrete wall. However, investigators do not buy her story. 60-year-old Bernard Armstrong, who suffered massive internal injuries, was operating a crash cushion truck, which is meant to alert and slow down traffic, on the night of the fatal accident. Armstrong had just stepped off his truck and stood beside it along the shoulder when Nicole's car rammed into him. According to the arrest warrant, Nicole failed the field sobriety test. She had red, bloodshot eyes, staggered while walking, and cops could smell alcohol on her breath. Nicole behaved aggressively and threatened the cops with dire circumstances if they arrested her. Her attorney defended her, saying that she was in shock after the closed head injuries she had suffered in the crash. But the police at the scene recall Nicole being more worried about her two dogs in the car than the man she had crashed into. Nicole Hutchinson was released after posting a $50,000 bond from the Dallas County Jail. She was then found not guilty and was sentenced to 2 years of probation. Despite all the claims of being wealthy, she listed her income at $1,500 a month. 5. Holding captive. In December 2021, an unnamed victim who was held captive for over 6 months managed to escape thanks to a single text message to her friend that she was being held captive. The friend alerted the cops, who immediately started investigating the case. Cops made it to 39-year-old Ramon Marcia Martinez's home in Utah, who answered the door holding a handgun in the front pocket of his hoodie. According to the affidavit, Martinez was arrested at his house when cops found the victim with bruising around both eyes. She also complained of rib pain and difficulty in breathing. She informed authorities she had been assaulted nearly 6 times on the previous day alone. The affidavit also contained other details of the torture. It read, "At another time, he seized the victim by the throat and held a knife to it. Using the knife, Martinez carved the number 6 into the victim's left hand, claiming that she had 6 months to accept him or be killed. Finally, the victim indicated that Martinez got a revolver and held it at her head at some point during the day. She also said he beat her with a bat and choked her so hard she urinated twice." Martinez, the self-proclaimed millionaire who lists himself as the CEO of TrueMed, a medical cannabis doctor referral service, was charged with aggravated kidnapping and assault and held in prison without bail. 4. The failed plan. Officers claim a millionaire plotted to kidnap his estranged wife, but the plan went awry when the 2 men he hired drowned near Baton Rouge while attempting to evade cops. Lawrence Michael Hadley was charged with aggravated kidnapping, which carries a maximum life sentence in prison. According to court records, the couple got married in 2006, but things got ugly in 2017 when restraining orders were repeatedly issued. Handley asked for a divorce in April of 2017. He claimed that his wife had regularly abused or threatened him and that she had hired a contract killer to get rid of him. Handley's wife maintains that he had tried to track her phone, gain access to her email, and install malware on her computer. According to records, he allegedly also sent her abusive text messages to threaten her. Handley enlisted the help of two criminals, 27-year-old Sylvester Bracey and Arsenio Hayes. According to the court complaint, kidnappers forced themselves into the couple's Lafayette home with handguns, chained Handley's wife up, threw a sack over her head, before forcibly removing her from the home. According to the affidavit, the two men then threatened, tortured, and abused her while driving to their destination. The intruders also handcuffed the neighbor and her child, who were present in the home, and drove off to Baton Rouge with the wife inside. An off-duty deputy pursued the van after he spotted it trying to flee on the shoulder. The men made a grave mistake when they took a wrong turn into a dead end. Bracey and Hayes bolted towards the nearby woods after the van got bogged in a swampy location. They jumped into the Intercoastal Canal to escape an arrest and were discovered dead a day later. Authorities found a gun in a nearby pipe that they suspect belonged to one of the kidnappers. Handley's wife was found in the back of the vehicle by Iberville Parish Sheriff's deputies. After learning that his plan had failed, Handley tried to charter a plane and flee the country. However, by then, investigators had labeled Handley as the mastermind behind the kidnapping when they found a video detailing his plan with checklists to execute the abduction of his wife. Handley, who had tasted the success of being a millionaire before he was 30, is looking at a possible 15 to 35 years for attempted murder and a maximum sentence of 20 years for second-degree kidnapping. 3. The cost of life. A multimillionaire's son was jailed for slamming a high-speed Lamborghini into a Los Angeles woman, killing her. According to police, 17-year-old Brendan Coury was driving a Lamborghini SUV and had allegedly been street racing with an Audi when it drove into Monique Munoz's vehicle. Munoz's automobile was wrecked and she had to be cut free. Brendan's father, James Coury, has faced a barrage of criticism for gifting his son a $200,000 Lamborghini for his birthday in 2020. Not only that, Brendan drew a lot of attention after a celebrity magazine reported that a few days after the accident, there was an incident in Beverly Hills. An armed guard surrounded Brendan when an unidentified person screamed at him and called him a killer. Brendan was supposedly laughing and joking as if nothing was wrong, and his demeanor was casual and unnerving amid the devastation his family had experienced just days earlier. After reaching an $18.85 million settlement, Coury allegedly spent loads more on trying to erase the incident from the internet. The Los Angeles Police Department has charged the son with negligent vehicular manslaughter. The proceedings are still underway. 2. The revenge. In 2021, the wealthiest man in Britain, 83-year-old Richard Sutton, was stabbed to death at his house in Higher Langham by his business partner's son. The Moore Hill estate was left looking like a war zone following the murderous rampage. 34-year-old Thomas Schreiber has been charged with Sutton's murder and attempted murder. Schreiber also tried to kill his own mother. After years of hatred and resentment brewed inside him, which ultimately led to the explosion of violence. After mooching off Richard Sutton for years, Schreiber stabbed him to death with a kitchen knife in a frenzied attack. Schreiber stabbed his own mother 9 times in the neck and back, leaving her paralyzed from the neck down. Schreiber lived with the couple at the mansion rent-free following his mother's divorce from his alcoholic father. But despite this, the court heard how he resented them for abandoning his father, who died in 2013. During the trial, Rose McCarthy, Schreiber's sister, told him, "You took a knife to our world." 1. Daddy's Girl. With her father's blessing, a millionaire's 21-year-old daughter spent the ludicrous amount of $100,000 on cosmetic procedures. And she says she's not done. Saffron Druitt-Barlow received lip fillers at age 16 because she was unsatisfied with her appearance. After being targeted by cruel trolls who branded her flat-chested and looked like a boy, she spent around $50,000 on breast implants last month that boosted her 34 AA bust to something like a full C. Tony and Barry Druitt-Barlow, Saffron's parents, made history in the late 1980s when they became the first gay men in the UK to father children through surrogacy. The Essex couple made headlines again in 1999 when they were photographed cuddling Saffron and her twin, Aspen. In an interview with The Sun, Saffron revealed that Barry supported her decision to have cosmetic surgery and even informed her that she would regret not going bigger with her latest boob job. After Tony gifted her a whopping $15 million to celebrate a financial windfall, Saffron, who turned 21 in December, is treating herself to a $30,000 Brazilian butt lift. Thanks for watching. Would you rather grow up super rich and be a spoiled brat that nobody really likes, or grow up poor with a lot of friends? Tell us your pick in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.